how do you identify somebody that is out of alignment, and how does that turn into burnout?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, most people don't even know whether they're in alignment or not. And so many people are operating in autopilot, and many people are operating based on their emotional triggers, behavioral patterns, and environmental conditioning that has caused them to believe certain things about themselves that they've only sought that same information to further validate throughout their lives, right? How does this manifest? What does it look like? Well, it can look like heaviness. It can look like weight. It can look like the inability to catch a breath. It can look like my wife asking me a question like, hey, honey, what are we going to do with the kids this weekend? And all of a sudden I feel my anger and reaction and defense bubbling up. And I rattle off the 10 things I've done in the last 4 days to show her what I've done to be a good husband and father, when that's not even what she asked. But because my shame filter caused me to hear, hey, honey, you've not done enough to be a good husband and father here recently. So what are you going to do to make up for it this weekend? Not even what she asked, right? So many times we're reacting to something that has nothing to do with what's right in front of us. And that is typically what's going to create a misalignment.
Why do you believe that business owners think they have to go this slow route versus just going straight to nine figures?
Yeah. So a lot of what I do is help people identify and remove the trash from their past that continues to show up as their biggest problems in relationships, business, health, and life, and help them transform that waste into wealth. So the reality of it is we are conditioned to believe things about ourselves and the way we operate from the world, again, from those early childhood memories. Many people, because their dad looked at them incorrectly or they gave prioritization to their sibling, all of a sudden found a way to have an outlet in sports and they get celebrated. So they've learned to receive love, validation, and connection through performance. They've also listened to what the world has told them their entire fucking lives on you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you should be this, you shouldn't be that, you should want this, you shouldn't want that. Should's a shame-based word. It automatically implies whoever you are, whatever you're doing, it's not good enough. And so the reality of it is...
Should is a shame-based word, so that's good.
Yeah, there's an element of pain that we associate with growth. And I'll tell you, I'm a practitioner of pain. When I was 7, I was run over by a truck. My left arm was severed from my body. It was reattached. I've had 24 surgeries, years of adversity. I used to think that was my transformation story. It was just the story that created a bunch of trash. But the world told me to show up, put a smile on, push through, and push down. So what did I do? I pushed down until I created a shrapnel bomb of trash that exploded in my world. Right? Burnout happened time and time and time and time again. I kept banging my head against the wall, but I'm thinking I'm going to find a different approach. And so I think that there's an association to pain and what is on the other side of it that many people look at. I look at my climb to success, and what's crazy is looking back, I had convinced myself that I needed to crawl up the mountain on my hands and knees, and it wasn't going to be worth it unless it was bloody. But if I'm really honest now, I can look back and see all the elevators, all the escalators, all the sets of stairs that I walked right by that could have bifurcated like a whole bunch of pain, right? But I had convinced myself that this is what I need to do because otherwise it's not worth it. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that operate in that space, and they've also gotten their identity wrapped up in the job they've provided themselves versus understanding how to really scale their life and business.
One of my favorite experiments, do you know the one about if someone's doing a push-up and how you talk to them impacts how many push-ups they can do? So yeah, so if you, for everyone listening, if you know you can do 100 push-ups, you go, I'm gonna do 100 push-ups. And I sit next to you, and as you do 100 push-ups, I'm like, you don't have to do this, man. You don't have to prove this to anyone. Yeah. Like seriously, like just feel that tiredness in your arms, that lactic acid builds up, you're probably causing long-term harm. Like just relax, no one cares if you hit the 100. You're like 15 and you're like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. On the other hand, if I'm next to you, like, you can do it, don't stop, don't quit. You know, your mom wanted to be proud of you, make sure you're proud of you. And you're like, oh my God, right? The burnout is actually coming from the environment around you.
Well, and I'm going to argue that it's coming from the environment around you and what you allow yourself to internalize.
Yes, much better.
Because you can be in an environment, but if you're centered and clear, it doesn't mean you have to absorb it. The human experience, we all want, seek, and desire 4 things. We all want to feel safe. We all want to feel protected. We all want to feel seen and understood. And we all want to feel connected. The 2 we want most are the 2 at the end, but they don't happen unless the first 2 do. So the second you walk into a room and you don't feel safe, you protect yourself. Now, do you know what a 35-gallon black trash bag looks like for the outdoor ones?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
So imagine, and just for the sake of it, imagine that you've unfolded it and you're holding it out in front of you, right? Yep. As a piece of armor, okay? Everybody do this just for a second because you'll feel it, okay? Now imagine you're holding this black opaque trash bag. That's your armor, okay? Now I want you to tell me, How can you expect anybody to properly see you, understand, you know your intent, your heart, your desires, your boundaries, the way that you're going to operate, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, how you're going to be able to help them, service them, the solutions that you're going to provide, delivered through an opaque force field? We teach this concept around those 4 areas that I told you we want in the human experience, right? We teach a concept called protector and connector. Because the reality of it is if you have the ability to lower your armor, you can do that one of 2 ways. You can fabricate it in a moment by convincing yourself that you're safe, or you can actually unpack and process and do the work that needs to be done, which is what I recommend for everybody, because at some point then you don't even get triggered. Okay, but what is triggered? It's those moments that I'd be sitting in a meeting with a multi-billion-dollar client, having coordinated the 10 buyers over the course of the last year, and then my team is there for the first time, but I talk fast and I'm loud if you can't notice. And they'd lean over and they'd be like, shh, hey, Brian, you can't talk that fast. You can't talk that loud. Even though every fucking person in that room was there because of me, what would I do? I'd shrink down, I'd bite my tongue, I'd all of a sudden not feel worthy, right? So to convince, you have to unpack so that you only spend minutes and moments in those low frequency modes versus months and years, which is what I did before. But what would happen, right? We would literally go through this process and I would have to center myself, understand what I'm doing, bring myself full circle so that I can actually move through this because I was protecting myself. So what is a protector and connector? I can lower my armor in any given moment by convincing myself that I'm safe and protected, and I can wrap a layer of protection around whatever environment I'm in, which ensures that everyone there is safe, protected, seen, understood, and connected. But that starts with leading with vulnerability. I like to say that true strength hides behind vulnerability. And the only way you can operate as a protector and connector is if you have a soft front and a strong spine. What does that mean? Strong spine means I know who I am. I know what I'm willing to do, what I'm not willing to do, where my boundaries lie, the areas that might trigger me, the ways that I'm going to actually approach things, my belief systems, the ways that I'm open to learning, all of who I am, which means that I can be unwavering in the light of challenge. I can walk into any room, and if I'm really clear on who I am and I'm living aligned at the deepest level, then I don't have to worry about protecting anything. Then I can operate with a soft front. Now, when Eve wants to come and talk to you from an emotional perspective, does she want to hug you with your suit of armor on?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. She goes, hey, babe, go grab the armor. No, I'm joking. No,
she doesn't want to put her head down on a metal chest.
No,
piece, right?
of course.
She wants to put it down on a soft chest that can hold her, embrace her, bring her in. Guess what? Your employees are no different. Your clients are no different. Your partners and your friends are no different. It's all about how do you connect at the deepest level by allowing yourself to be clear and connected with who you are. Nothing can affect you.